Good morning, everybody. So, let's talk a little bit about perception. Change is guaranteed. And change is neither inherently good or bad, according to the quote. Um, but knowledge is always useful. We had all these experiences when we were young, when our brain was being formed. As a baby is born, not entirely cooked. their their brain is not formed. It is the formative experiences of early childhood that begins to create the connections in their brain, to the point where if you do not expose a young child to light in their eyes, their corneas will not fully form. They will not be able to perceive light indefinitely because that part of the brain was not formed. It was deprived of the neural circuitry being built. We're born with our brain half baked. We don't come complete like many other species, and the networks that were laid down in our earliest of years have a huge impact on how we then go on in our later early years to interpret the experiences that are changing and going on around us. And each culture, each family, each society has its own lenses that are being placed. It's just this echo chamber of influences that are being placed down onto this child. And it's given temperament and its early wiring, and perceptions are being drawn. Our brain is meant to keep us alive. It's meant to keep us, train us. Okay, the world works this way. This is how you survive it. And we go about our early years surviving it, drawing conclusions about how people work, how the world works, how we work, and how to survive based on that foundation and based on those lenses. Everyone's earliest foundations of brain wiring is going to be different because of their family and their own family's culture, their own family's religion, their own family's region, their own family's personality quirks and issues and things that come up and are transmitted generationally. And so we grow and we have this perspective that is our interpretation of the reality that was happening. A lot of other people were there. Our parents were there, our family was there, the rest of the world was there. But we only know what we only know, what we only determined from our own perspective, our own hard wiring, our own experience. We only have an interpretation of reality to work with. And as I stated in an earlier video, I believe the last video, that we sort of grow up and we find ourselves somewhere. It's been the identity that we've created has been a fumbling, stumbling, blind wander through this interpretation of the world built on perspectives that we developed when we were very young, that was based only on our interpretation of the reality of the situation as it was happening, how we felt, how we perceived, how we believed that things were. And as life went on, we saw more and more things to confirm this reality. And then one day we become conscious of our own agency and the fact that everything we knew up to this point and every place we found ourselves up to this point was done unconsciously without choice or direction. And that everything we know about our past is just our interpretation. And then we become conscious and want to create a life for ourselves. Create the men, women, or however you identify the people, the character, the impact, the person you want to be versus just the person and situation you found yourself in. You realize that it's all been an illusion, it's all just been your perspective, and it's not reality. Reality is somewhere in between your perspective and everyone else who lived through the same time. There's a lot of things you missed. You didn't know what it was like for your parents to raise you. You didn't understand what they were going through when they weren't there for you. We didn't even understand our parents were people with flaws until we reached a certain age. There's a lot we didn't understand to find us at the point in which we find ourselves. And there are a few things that are guaranteed in life. One of those is change. So much has changed over the course of your life, even before you were conscious of the fact that you have the agency to make those decisions for yourself and begin to shape and mold yourself and your life into something more the way you would like it to be. Even the world at large, if you are able to more the way you wish you would like it to be. You're not at mercy of your past, and you're not at mercy of your perception that's only perception. But so much of your life has changed. Even the fact that you identify and realize that you can change your perspective. Everything you've known up till this point is just your interpretation, and you can change that interpretation. You may not know how, but recognizing that it's a perception is important. Some changes in life are unpleasant. Although the quote for today says, "Change itself is neither good nor bad, but knowledge is always useful." I would say the death of a loved one is a bad change. This is kind of one of those esoteric, philosophical kind of quotes. I would say the death of a loved one is bad. It's hard, it's difficult, that the loss of life is exceptionally bad. Loss of life on mass scale is exceptionally bad. Talk about people ending suffering. Well, now they won't be suffering anymore. Well, sometimes people weren't suffering. They were just going about their life, and then it's done. There are things in this life, changes, that are unarguably not a good change. So I'm going to veer off that quote a little bit and say that yes, some change is not good. If you abandon your family, That's not a good change. If you decide midway through your life and you've had a fine and productive and healthful life to suddenly dive into hardcore addiction just because you just wanted to try it out, let's say, that's a change. It's your decision. But I would say it's not good. To have made that decision is destructive to your life, to your family. But these are the extremes, the fringes, the obvious. By in general, what I think this quote is trying to get across is our perception of things. Humanity resists change. We are creatures of habit, especially as we get into adulthood. We do what we do the same way we do it over and over and over and over. If something is a dramatic change, such as job loss, a relationship loss, things of that nature, it feels bad. Change in general can just feel bad. But it's just change. Aging. People are terrified of aging. You're not aging, you're being blessed. Because you're still here, breathing. You are still alive. Not everybody gets that gift to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. I know this is a little rambly, and I've had under coffee and a very messed up morning, but basically it's the optimism pessimism question. Is the glass half full or half empty? Almost everything in our life, because change is constant. Some type of change, time is passing. Days and nights and seasons and people. And some days, no matter how predictable your life is, people are in better or worse moods, or things go wrong, things go right, good, bad, different. Change is promised. Change is life. Change is a sign of life. Anything living changes. And all of life around us changes, and circumstances changes, and phase changes, and time changes, and we win some things, we lose some things. And we never want to stay completely static. But whether the change is bad or good, it's just change. Just like the aging example. It's just change. And we can perceive it to be bad, to be negative, to be a drawback. Or we can perceive it to be a blessing, that we get to hang around one more year to experience this thing called life. That job loss that may at first appear devastating may indeed be that final push that you needed to get you out of a job that you hated anyway, but you were too afraid to change. Or may open the door to the next job that you will enjoy so much better. It may offer a new freshness to your life. It may change a direction that you would not have otherwise had the opportunity to endeavor into if that job had not been ripped out from under you. Change just is. It is a given of life. All sorts of changes. And it's up to us to perceive how we want to interpret that change, how we want to take it in, and adapt and adjust and perceive and move forward with that change. Because a lot of change in life is just an aspect of life that we don't control. We make some choices, we make some changes, we are proactive, but a lot of change is beyond our control. It just is. And it's up to our perspective if the glass is half empty or half full, and how we're going to react and respond to that change. The second half of the quote, but knowledge is always useful. Change is guaranteed. Knowledge regarding the change will help you maneuver the change. Knowledge about yourself, knowledge about your perspective, knowledge about your opportunities, knowledge about your resources, knowledge about life, just knowledge. A changing employment perspective, a lot of gig jobs, the dynamic of even finding work is changing. The world is changing always. Your life is changing always. But the wisdom and knowledge you have is the asset you need to most successfully maneuver those changes that life throws at us consistently. The more knowledge you are equipped with about all manner of life, internal, external, practical, intellectual, emotional, relational, general, philosophical, the more knowledge you empower yourself with, the more equipped you'll be to see the optimism of the glass as half full, see the possibility in the change rather than resist or mourn it, unless it is unarguably bad. And if it is, you will cope better based on the knowledge you have. This was not a good video. I'm sorry. Doing the best I can. Kind of an off kind of a day, but I'm on a run of that recently, but change is guaranteed. So it's guaranteed not to always go my way, and you make do what you can with what you have, and use the knowledge you have to make it work the best possible. It's up to you how much resistance you put up to change, and how, whether you determine that change to be a good or a bad thing. And you can fall back on your knowledge to maneuver all change better. Love you guys. Good morning. Goodbye. I'll do better soon with these videos. Promises. Promise. Okay. I'm gonna get off here and finish waking up. I'm coffeeless, so that's part of the problem. But it's only up to me to see it as a problem. Maybe it'll help reduce my caffeine intake, because it's excessive. Maybe this change is good for me, that today I have to wake up without coffee. It's your interpretation. With or without coffee just is. How I interpret that is up to me. Good morning, goodbye. seriously, I'm done now. Totally done. Love you guys. Good morning.